Commander Varlek of the Drenari Navy had fought for 70 years, and he had seen almost every horror the stars could invent. He had watched fleets burn, planets fall, and friends vanish into fire, but never, not once, had he faced anything like this. The enemy was called the Vorn, a machine hive from beyond mapped space, an endless tide of steel and fire that devoured everything it touched. No prisoners, no messages, no mercy. They had already torn apart. 3 Drenari fleets, and now they were coming for the capital world of the Coalition. Varlek's line of ships was the last wall between 10 billion lives and annihilation. His scanners showed 212 enemy vessels moving toward him. His own fleet had 39, many of them damaged, limping, and low on ammunition. Every computer in the room agreed on one thing: total loss within 4 hours. Still, the old commander refused to order a retreat. If he was going to die, he would die buying time for the civilians behind him. He told his crew to stand, ready and prepare for the last fight of their lives, and then, against all reason, hope appeared on his tactical display. A single human fleet had volunteered to hold the flank. Small ships, primitive weapons. Only 12 destroyers under a captain named Sarakol Varlek had met humans before. They were loud, emotional, and far too confident for their size. He did not expect much from them, but as those 12 ships formed up in a perfect line, something in his chest shifted. It was not hope. It was something sharper, something dangerous. The capital world was less than 1 jump behind them. If this defense failed, billions would die, and the Coalition itself might collapse. Every being on every ship understood it. Varlek looked across his bridge at the faces of his officers. No one spoke. No one had to. They all knew this was likely their end. Then a voice came through the static of the comm channel. Calm, clear, and very human. "Commander, this is Captain Cole of the EDF Resolute. I'm sending you a new firing solution. When I give the word, I want your ships to pull back exactly 10 clicks and rotate your shield harmonics to frequency 47B. Don't ask why. Just trust me." Varlek frowned. Humans loved chaos, but this sounded like madness. Still, there was something steady in her tone, almost amused, as if she already knew how this story would end. Against his better judgment, he gave the order. "Execute on the human signal," he said quietly. The bridge crew exchanged uncertain looks but obeyed. Out in the dark, the Vorn fleet advanced, filling the void like a rising storm. Red eyes glowed across the battlefield as their weapons powered up. Varlek tightened his jaw and whispered, "For the Coalition." The countdown began. Captain Cole's voice returned over the comm. "Hold formation. Wait for my mark." Varlek's sensors screamed warnings as hundreds of enemy warheads launched. He was about to give the order to fire when Cole shouted one word: "Now!" Every Drenari ship pulled back exactly 10 clicks. Every shield flickered to the human frequency. And then, for 3 breaths, nothing happened. Then the humans opened fire. It was not plasma. Not light, not energy. It was metal, solid. Heavy, ancient metal hurled faster than anything alive could comprehend. The void turned white with kinetic trails as thousands of rods slammed into the enemy line. The first wave of Vorn ships shattered. Instantly, their armor peeled apart like paper, their cores ripping open in silent explosions. They were built to deflect plasma, not to survive being hit by a star's worth of momentum. On the Drenari bridge, silence ruled. Even the alarms seemed to forget their purpose. Varlek could only stare as one after another. The enemy vessels bloomed into expanding fireballs. When the light faded, 40 Vorn warships were gone. The human fleet didn't stop. They reloaded, recalculated, and fired again. Each salvo struck like thunder. Each impact carved holes in the swarm. Varlek realized what he was seeing. Humans were fighting with the oldest technology in the galaxy, and somehow turning it into the most terrifying weapon he had ever witnessed. Every instinct told him this shouldn't be possible. And yet here it was, working. Within minutes, the impossible had become reality. The first wave of the Vorn fleet was gone, completely gone. Varlek exhaled slowly and whispered to himself, "By the stars, what have we invited into our alliance?" The Vorn did not retreat. Machines never did. They adapted. New signals flashed across Varlek's screens as the hive changed tactics. Smaller ships broke away from the main formation, splitting into dozens of attack wings. Each wing launched swarms of drone torpedoes, fast, sharp, and hungry. Thousands of them screamed toward the human. "Flank!" Varlek's stomach tightened. "Those 12 human ships were about to be swallowed. Whole, even their primitive weapons couldn't stop that many targets. Turned to give the order for reinforcements. But before he could speak, he saw it. The human formation didn't scatter. It didn't panic. It moved tighter. The 12 destroyers rotated around each other like a single living creature, shields overlapping, guns firing in perfect rhythm. Every shot found a drone. Every missile intercepted another. The formation looked like chaos to the untrained eye. But Varlek saw the truth. It was harmony. One ship would move forward to draw fire. Another would slide behind it to cover its flank. Their coordination was too perfect to be random. It was instinct, born from a kind of war no machine could understand. Varlek's second officer whispered, "They're fighting like predators." He was right. The humans weren't soldiers on a defense line. They were hunters defending their den. Cole's voice broke through the comms, sharp and calm. "Commander, concentrate your cruisers on grid. Sectors D3 through D9 will handle the rest." Varlek hesitated. Those coordinates were right. In the middle of the swarm, any normal fleet would be shredded. But these weren't normal soldiers. He gave the order, "Move the line forward. Support the humans." The Drenari ship surged ahead, blue plasma bolts cutting across the black. Together, the two fleets wove a deadly pattern, precision and brutality mixed as one. Every time a Vorn ship slipped through, human guns were already waiting. Every time the humans took too much fire, Drenari shields covered them. In minutes, the chaos became order, and that order became a wall, the unbreakable line. But the hive wasn't finished. Deep in the Vorn formation, energy spikes lit up like stars being born. The machine fleet was preparing something new, something big. Varlek's sensors overloaded. Massive energy surge. "They're charging a super weapon!" Cole didn't wait for instructions. "Commander, get your ships back, now." Her voice was steady. But the tone under it was a knife's edge. Varlek wanted to argue, but there wasn't time. He pulled his fleet back 20 clicks. The enemy fired. A blinding beam of white energy cut through space, tearing straight toward the human formation. One of the human destroyers didn't move fast enough. The beam hit it dead center, splitting the ship in two. Varlek flinched. The hull burned away like paper, scattering across the void. No one could have survived that, but the humans didn't break. They closed the formation. They didn't even slow down. Instead, their return fire doubled. The remaining ships aimed every gun at the source of that beam, the Vorn command carrier. Cole's voice came again. "Quieter now. Targeting their power core. Focus fire. Make them bleed." Varlek watched as hundreds of kinetic rounds tore through the carrier's shields, piercing its hull. The massive ship shuddered, cracked, and finally exploded in a brilliant flash. The energy beam died with it. Varlek's crew cheered. But he didn't. He was too busy staring at the human ships, still firing. Still moving, still unbroken. Each one bore scars. Missing armor, venting atmosphere, but none of them stopped. The unbreakable line held. By now, Varlek understood what made humans terrifying. It wasn't just their weapons or their tactics. It was their will. When other species saw death, they flinched. When humans saw it, they gritted their teeth and fought harder. The Vorn were learning that now, too late to save themselves. Varlek's tactical officer turned. "Commander, the Vorn are regrouping, but their signals are confused." The hive link is unstable. Cole's voice answered before Varlek could. Perfect. That means they're scared, and scared things make mistakes. Her ship, the Resolute, burned bright in the center of the formation. Her engines overclocked and weapons glowing red hot. Varlek realized what she was doing, pushing the enemy into chasing her. "Captain Cole," he said, "you can't fight the entire hive alone." Her laugh came through the static, rough and fearless. "I'm not alone, Commander. You're with me." Then she cut the channel. The Vorn hive carrier moved forward like a planet made of metal. It was enormous, bigger than any Drenari city. Its surface crawling with moving parts and weapon systems. Dozens of red energy cores glowed inside its hull, each one capable of vaporizing a ship in a single blast. It was the heart of the machine swarm, the brain that commanded the others. Varlek's scanners went red, from top to bottom. The hive was charging a weapon strong enough to burn half the fleet. He stared at the readings, speechless. Nothing in their arsenal could stop that much power. Captain Cole's voice came across the comm again. Calm and low. "Commander, we can't let that weapon fire. If it does, we're finished. We're going in close." Varlek's eyes widened. "Captain, you won't survive that range." "It's suicide!" Her reply came with a laugh, soft but fierce. "Then it's a good thing humans are stubborn." Before he could respond, the human fleet accelerated. All 12 ships roared forward, straight into the storm. Energy blasts ripped through the void, tearing chunks of armor from their hulls. 2 ships vanished in bursts of light, one after another. They were hit, but none of them turned back. They moved in perfect formation, weaving between plasma fire and missile storms. It looked impossible, like 12 pieces of light dancing through hell. Varlek shouted into the comm, "Cole! Pull back, that's an order!" But she didn't answer. The hive carrier loomed larger on the screen, filling every sensor channel with interference. Its main cannon began to glow brighter, charging for another shot. If it fired now, it would wipe out everything, human and Drenari alike. Then, through the static, her voice came back. "Commander, tell your ships to open a path. I'm taking the shot." Varlek didn't understand. What shot? Her tone was steady. The kind that ends wars. The Resolute, her flagship, broke formation and sped forward. Engines screaming. Every remaining human ship turned their guns on the hive, unleashing everything they had. Missiles, slugs, railgun fire, all of it hammered the massive carrier. The shields began to flicker, the hull started to split, and then the Resolute plunged straight into the wound. Varlek's breath caught in his throat. "Cole, what are you doing?" Her reply was calm, finishing it. For a moment, there was silence. Then the hive carrier's energy core reached critical. A flash brighter than a sunrise filled every screen. The explosion didn't sound, because sound couldn't exist there, but Varlek felt it in his bones. The shockwave rippled across space, tearing through the machine fleet. When the light faded, nothing was left of the hive, only drifting metal and dying. Sparks Varlek looked at the tactical board. No more enemy signals. No more human ships either. All 12 were gone. His bridge fell silent. Some of his crew lowered their heads. Others simply stared at the empty void. Varlek whispered quietly, "She did it. She destroyed a god. The victory was absolute." But it didn't feel like triumph. It felt like loss. The kind that carves itself into memory. Hours passed before the last Vorn stragglers were hunted down. The Drenari fleet began rescue operations, searching through debris for survivors. Most of what they found were wrecks and fragments. Then, against all odds, one signal appeared, a single life pod drifting near what used to be the hive's heart. Varlek ordered an immediate recovery. The pod was cracked, burned and half-crushed. Inside, unconscious but alive, was Captain Sarah Cole. When she awoke in the med bay, her first words weren't about herself. She asked for a damage report. Varlek stood beside her bed, his scaled hands clasped behind his back. Told her the truth. The human fleet was gone. The Vorn fleet was destroyed. The coalition was Saved, Cole smiled weakly. Then it was worth it. Varlek shook his head. You gave everything. Your people... She cut him off. They gave it freely, Commander. That's what humans do. He stared at her, struggling to understand. How can you fight like that? How can you face death and smile? Her eyes softened, but her voice stayed steady. Because if we don't, who will? Varlek had no answer. He left her room in silence, carrying her words with him like a wound. Outside, the stars looked different now, sharper, colder, and somehow quieter. He thought of the humans' small fleet, their simple ships, their insane courage, and for the first time in his long life, he understood why the galaxy would never forget them.